I was actually just yesterday off camera. I was sort of lamenting to ET that the only game we had seen Arkosh pick up Pudge was one that we did not get to cast, but get our chance now to see the hero. And the question at this point is now who sort of switches positions? Does the Pudge take the core role, or do they try something, I guess, with the Spirit Breaker in a core position at this rate? But no matter what, the Pudge is always going to be sort of an interesting hero just to see play out. So I'm still curious about the position, but, you know, it's Arkosh, right? They're just going to do something wacky and wild and hope that it works.
Unfortunately, there is a Beastmaster now.
Hmm.
So that is that incredibly obnoxious summons hero where any team that has to run at their opponents is really going to struggle. And that's the theme with a lot of these North American drafts is they want to run at their opponents, but now it's a very long and arduous path that they have to travel through to actually get to the core of two-based. We'll really have to see how the Spirit Breaker ends up going because if he starts falling behind, then that's where we keep talking about ease of execution as well as activity. And sure, he's going to be running around the map, but if he's not actually able to get a lot of these kills, then unfortunately, a Spirit Breaker is in that same realm where as soon as you start playing on the opposite side where you feel like you're a little bit behind, it's just not a hero that plays well from the back. So they really need to play well with the lead, and that's where we always look back at the mid lane, whether or not your Void Spirit's able to make his rotations and whether or not those rotations are successful. It's just paramount for Arkosh to actually get that snowball going, because I also think this almost has to be a core Pudge. I don't think you can necessarily run that Spirit Breaker in the... I guess they could make it an offlane Pudge, a 4 Grimstroke, a 5 Spirit Breaker. We've only seen them play the Pudge in the 5 position, if I'm correct, because I think only one of their players is actually comfortable enough to take it in those very odd circumstances, but it's also kind of hard to play Pudge in this game. Both Void Spirit and Spirit Breaker want to be just on top of their opponent, so finding these hooks is going to be a little bit troubling for him as well. So a little bit concerned, but we'll have to see how they end up playing it because we've seen Arkosh outskill, much more skilled opponents than two-based by just being a little bit crazier.
Hmm. At a certain stage, there is something to be said for that surprise factor, right? You take something that the other team was so unprepared for that you don't really have a response, and well, speaking of things that you're unprepared for, that is going to be the Brood, and that is a Brood Mother picked up with Monkeys Forever in the lineup. So now I'm even more confused about exactly what the positions are going to look like. This is some sort of carry Brood Mother instead, but either way, this lineup from Arkosh, it's going to be fun to watch, win or lose.
I I guess it's gonna be an off-lane Broodmother, a 4 Spirit Breaker, and then they've got a Grimstroke Pudge lane, and they just have a carry Pudge, I guess. But then you're playing carry Pudge into Nyx Assassin, so every single time you go for the run, you get Carapace, so it's an interesting choice. I almost feel like it's one of those like stretch goals or something, right? Where well, Monkeys needs to play Brood in this tournament at least once, so we get to see it. But New Brood is, albeit better than as soon as they change the hero, but it's still not that beast where you just take over the game with an Orchid or a Diffusal Blade and you suddenly can't play your bottom side of the map. It's just not as good anymore. They really gutted her in that regard. We'll have to see what Monkeys Forever actually decides to build up. If it's the normal build where we see, or did see, a lot of players go for items like the Orb of Corrosion into the Arcane Boots, into stuff like the Hood, but it's a really awkward hero to play, and I think there is that chaos factor where do your opponents not respect you because you have slightly weirder heroes? We saw that yesterday in the Thunder Predator versus Black and Yellow game where they did not respect their opponents for a good 15 minutes and then suddenly they couldn't win the game anymore. And that definitely is a very real possibility here, but I also feel like Arkosh need to mechanically play out of their minds. Otherwise, TOOBASED have a very safe lineup right now.
And two-based, there we go. Took some time to think over their carry pick. They will go in for the Dawnbreaker. So that was something that we were seeing out of some of the other squads earlier on. I think Lumiere's run it twice in this event for Infamous. So two-based are seemingly going to take their shot at it. And yeah, it will be Boris picking up that hero. Meanwhile, for Arkosh, it is a position 1 Spirit Breaker, I guess. Pale Horse has picked it, so ETI have absolutely no idea how that works, and I mean, I'm not even sure that it does work, but it's a scary Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, again, I don't think they wanted to lane the Pudge versus the Knicks, because that sounds really not fun, but is this really the best choice? I mean, Arkosh, up until this point, have pretty religiously put Pale Horse on Luna, Terrorblade, Weaver, the hard farmer, and now he's going to be on this more active, not farmer, and again, I think he just has to play out of his mind. That's also not a very fun lane. Of course, you do have the Grimstroke. They do have very good Inkswell targets on that team, but you're still playing versus the Knicks. It's going to be hard for you to actually finish off a lot of these kills. I think they're going to need to go, force out spells from two-based, wait a second, and then re-go almost immediately after. Otherwise, their opportunities to find kills in these side lanes are really going to be slim, and that's where maybe this Broodmother is going to draw you back even more. It's got to be the Void Spirit. Canis Vulpes has got to just pop off this game.
I mean, listen, it's, you know, it's our first game of the day. We got a long day of Dota ahead of us, but I can't help and I can't shake the feeling. This feels like we're playing an all-star game or something. Like it's all random deathmatch, but only one team was told that, and the other team just sort of picked normally. You got the two-base lineup that sort of falls into a lot of conventional strengths versus Arkosh, who have put together something that almost defies logic, but it's going to make it potentially all the more interesting if Arkosh do pull this lineup off and make something happen to actually win it with some very funky stuff. But we'll see how it goes. A little bit of all chatting there before we get started, but overall, two-based. This is a pretty hefty rotation at the start, and they are pretty close to Pale Horse here, but this would still be rough for them. Even if they push forward, you're basically fighting under a tower, so they'll see if anybody gets too far forward. No, they won't. They'll just charge in. Okay. Subtlety thrown out the window here as they jump in. Can they find Gremlo? That's really the only target they have at the moment. They do get the Impale down. And really, Gremlo, where can he actually go? He is not very fast on this Pudge. He's going to get hit up by the Thunder Strikes. And I think slowly but surely they'll be able to run him down. His teammates can at least use this as a distraction to try and maybe go after some extra runes, but Gremlo is dying no matter what. As Boris gets the kill and, well, two-based. They at least get one of the runes, so they're able to defend something, but that is still 3 of the 4 bounties and bit of a weird start for Arkosh. Doesn't really make up for giving up first blood there, but they got it. Monkey says, I literally woke up 10 minutes ago. Oh god.
Yeah.
NA players, man.
Makes even more sense as to why, you know, he's the manager. Mr. Manager. But this top lane is going to be even more difficult. First blood, of course, going over to Boris. I think he's got something flying out, but... Oh, yeah.
They did get the hook. Initially, weren't really able to do much more with it, and yeah, what's he got out? Mango and an Orb of Venom coming out to Boris, so it's going to make him just unbelievably more annoying against this duo. If he gets any hits in whatsoever, you are going to have that little bit extra to work with, but you feel like Monkey's on this Brood isn't really going to give Boris too many opportunities to just straight up hit him, but for Empyrean, it's a bit of a different story. Anytime he shows in lane, that Thunder Strike can just be thrown right on his head.
Yeah, and they do split the lanes in a way that I honestly do like. They tried to get the Grimstroke out of the Nyx lane. They didn't want to have to deal with it, even though the Grimstroke silence is pretty nice versus the Nyx hero. But I think they know that if they play those heroes together, then suddenly you don't get to play very much Dota in that bot lane. And what we've seen Grembo play 5 Pudge, I think, several times now.
Yeah, it's not too out of the ordinary there for him, as he and Pale Horse. Oh, they were trying to push forward. Pale Horse actually charged, I think, onto the creep there instead of Widge directly, so the angle was a little bit off on that, but you see how sort of far forward the Spirit Breaker is attempting to play, which, to a certain extent, kind of makes sense, right? You're on the Spirit Breaker, you're not exactly a pure farmer, you're not even a really normal, decent farmer. He's just got to try and be as aggressive as he possibly can, and with Gremlo to back him up, maybe they can make some plays here. You see Widge, he's pretty low. Gremlo's got the hook up in a few more seconds, so he is going to look for this angle. That's part of the reason why you see Valkyrie just sort of stepping in front as often as he can. The hook comes out. Gremlo can't hit it, but over on the other side, Cap Gonna get himself caught out. Boris and Empyrean jump in onto him, trap him up inside the kinetic field, and that's gonna be a relatively easy one for Boris as he gets the first 2 kills of the game.
Yeah, he's got the Soul Ring now queued up. I think he's going to have it pretty soon here, but you got to be scared of Boris getting those early levels. And of course, kind of knew that that was coming, maybe not in that same fashion with the Dawnbreaker, but it's really strong. Level 2 on the Disruptor, you just have that kinetic field that lasts for a very, very obnoxious amount of time. And they also just know where everyone is in the lane. They don't have a lane ward, but just having that Thunderstrike vision down just gives them the knowledge to make a lot of these plays. Nice little last hit from Monkeys there, but unfortunately, that's all he can really do. He doesn't provide much to his laning partner. I think that's where Cap might just try to refocus his attention to stacking, because there isn't really any kill potential up here unless they can find a way onto Empyrean. But that's where this isn't the old Brood, where he's getting points in that insatiable hunger, but Cap is just getting brutalized.
Getting hit by the Starbreaker, but they had already used the combo to get in, so Cap is able to walk away, turns around, and yeah, now Empyrean may just go down. One more hit will do it, and Cap from long range sets up the kill with the Stroke of Fate. So, as you said, very nicely played. You're able to avoid the initial burst potential from that duo, and then turn around and get your Broodmother a pretty straightforward pick onto the support.
Yeah, Empyrean's got to be a little bit more careful with his positioning in the lane, because you can definitely just get run down like that, but we'll see how much more we get that, because of course Monkeys just is looking for his level 6. They don't want to play together, but yeah, bottom.
Gremlow did get the hook, needs to, there we go, needs to set it up for Pale Horse, who will now TP
nice TP
away. Valky, I mean, he's got a little bit of damage, but not enough to finish off that kill before the TP completes, so very nicely done there on the 1-for-1 trade. Meanwhile, back up top, Monkeys getting aggressive onto Boris. Well, getting aggressive, not going to be able to find the kill. Cap can't really connect with the Stroke of Fate there either, but see the Broodmother, well, starting to get a little, I would say, sort of more sustainable in this lane. 3 points up in the hunger, so you are going to have that ability to just sort of maybe eat some early damage from these 2 opposing heroes and then just bounce back with the lifesteal.
Yeah, it's very hard for these heroes to actually finish the kill onto Monkeys, of course, because you also have that movement speed, so the slows really aren't that effective. They need to get him in a kinetic field, and then they need to have enough damage to actually finish off those kills, but that's also where I think we probably won't see Monkeys dying unless that Storm wants to look for the hunt on him, but mid lane has been relatively quiet. It's been a really nice job from Canis Vulpus specifically to draw this lane versus the Storm. Of course, in this matchup, we always talk about the Storm having a little bit of a leg up, but he's done a really fine job without too many outside factors as well playing in this mid lane. Everyone is more or less lane locked, so nobody has been helping out either side, and he's done a really good job of getting his early levels. He's even popping 6 around the same time that Guts did.
Guts does return to the lane, though, so he's going to try and pull this back a little bit more for himself, but Canis Vulpus, he doesn't really have to care anymore, right? You see the stacked camp off to the side, he can take that with the Dissimulate. He'll do exactly that, and with the Astral Step, he now has that ability to sort of rotate. Obviously, both mid laners do with Guts having the ball lightning. The question is, at this point, where do they really want to look to make this move? Actually, the move is coming towards them. Widge, well, wanders his way over, burns through the mana, but at that point you have sort of blown the element of surprise. But you do see Guts zipping his way forward. Thought he was looking for Cap, instead just looking to steal a bounty rune. We'll be able to take that. I don't actually know if he saw that this stack or this camp was stacked, rather. The angle was a little bit awkward for him, so maybe he doesn't know, but given just the way Dota is played and has been played at this event, I think Guts is probably safe in assuming that those stacks are there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to call. Every single time you have a range for, you just kind of know. I think you just prioritizing the farm in the mid lane is probably the correct choice, because of course lane CS is just that much better. It is really nice, especially if you can get all 4, and there is not much that either mid laner can do versus each other when it comes to actually going for denies. They just have too much magic damage, but that's also where this drawn mid lane is going to really accelerate Guts' timing on his Orchid, and that is going to be an awful timing that Arkosh didn't need to deal with. All of their heroes hate being silenced, but
just got glimpsed.
Yeah,
all the way under the tower. Widge, I mean, he comes in, he'll split the kill, but his presence was not needed. That glimpse in and of itself really just kind of doomed Gremlow to that death. So unfortunate. You can't really afford to get that far
Ooh,
forward. Oh, okay.
play.
The
Like
timing's
this time.
slightly off if they get it.
Nice roared.
Oh, God. Now there's trouble. Yeah, the roar comes in. Boris says, I would like the kill, please, and does manage to get it with the Solar Guardian, and now they get the impale down onto Cap. The body block's starting to come in as well. Gremlo at this point has respawned. That hook actually missing onto everything, and Cap will be picked off, so... Well, 1 kill turns into about 3 in that lane, and it might just be 4, because Gremlo, they
They know he TP'd in.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. They know that there's no way out now for the Pudge, and Gremlo, well... Welcome back to the lane, bud, and you can go right back to the fountain. 4 kills, and now a push onto the tier 1. They've got their creep wave. They're even going to use the glyph here just to sort of keep it up and running, so they should be able to get this. Bad news for them, though, on the other side is obviously there's a Broodmother, so she pushed down the tier 1 herself. As in the middle lane, Canis Vulpus able to win the man fight up against Guts, gets that solo kill. Still not quite making up for the losses down bot, but that is a big play for them to try and answer back.
Yeah, and really, first 20 minutes of this game, it's going to be incredibly important for Arkosh because they don't have a carry. They need to actually find a lot of returns, usually by killing their opponents here, and that's where I think, unfortunately, in two-base draft, they set up this Dawnbreaker so nicely. Everyone can give her the layup on that Solar Guardian. There's so much setup coming from every single hero that Boris always has a play that could be made here, and they're looking for monkeys.
They're going to jump
all
in.
the
They're
spiders.
through the spiders first. Yeah, that's a lot of money, and then they get the kill. Boris picks it up as well. He's got 6 kills, ET. What? The absolute... Oh, I mean, you were talking about them setting him up, but this is just a whole nother level. And now, yeah, Cap, you gotta go. TP's out. He was TPing under the Hawk, so they saw him the whole way, but they can't quite reach him in time. But now, if you're Arkosh, you are in a bad spot, because as you said, your carry is a Spirit Breaker who's not sitting on a lot of farms, so they've got to try to make moves. They're going on to Boris here. They do get him with the Inkswell into that Remnant, pulling him back in, and Boris... Gonna try... No, he's not. It's a bit of a fake out, but the chase is coming in. They want the charge, and Pale Horse is gonna be able to pick up the kill, brings that streak to an end as well for the bonus gold, and... I mean, they needed that. They finally bring Boris down after giving up 6 kills, but... At this point, it feels like a lot of the damage has been done. You take a look at the net worth, Boris is ahead by a pretty hefty margin pre-10 minutes, so... They're gonna have to put more than just that singular kill onto him to really slow him down now.
Yeah, and it's not entirely Boris's fault. Of course, he wants to play as far away from his teammates as possible because he has that play with the Solar Guardian. In fact, he doesn't use the Solar Guardian because they're looking top.
He's just going to get stunned up. Secondary stun in. The knockup from that Solar Guardian. Just didn't get to move. Taken down. Meanwhile, Guts was able to find a kill in the middle lane, but still up top. Cap is going to get jumped in on. His Inkswell does connect onto Widge, but there's still 3 heroes chasing him down. Impale's going to stun him up, and Boris grabs the double. So... Well, if you're Arkosh, it was a nice play. You got the kill onto Boris. The problem is you then immediately give up 3 kills, 2 of which goes to that Dawnbreaker that you had just picked off. So Boris has more than recovered from that initial setback.
Yeah, they just disperse a little bit too far, and that's where, again, it comes back to Canis Vulpus. He's got an Arcane Rune, so it's something to work with, but I think also Guts just getting that kill onto Gremlo, arguably for free, because he's playing around those runes, is just really rough. They need to find more, I think, in the terms of these plays. They need to do something more with Pale Horse, and I think he's charging mid right now, but what is Arkosh's game plan? Is it going to be collapsing on mid once Monkeys gets his Orchid? Is it going to be an item time for Pale Horse?
Cut him off. Witch TP's in for the Impale for the follow-up stun, and now that Spirit Breaker doesn't have the charge to get away, he's going to go for the Nether Strike. Does get him a little bit further back, but Widge, yeah, pops the Vendetta for the bonus damage. He will find the kill, so just a casual charge mid. Wasn't even really trying to start anything, but Guts is able to hit him up, and now Gremlo has missed the hook, and...
Gonna get glimpsed. Cool.
Okay, they'll go for Cap instead. Probably an easier target. They'll take him down as well. Gremlo can't do anything. Canis Vulpus, well, Arcane Rune is going to pop now. I think it may have just timed out, all things considered, but he's not really going to be able to contribute to this as Gremlo, well, tried to hook in. He hits a creep instead, and that's going to free up Simply TOOBASED to keep on going. They're looking for the tier 1 tower mid, and there is no one here to defend it, and there's no glyph for them to use, so... Glyph is refreshed now, obviously, but doesn't do them much good in this instance, and you're starting to see TOOBASED, well, I was going to say pulling away. Net worth-wise, they're really not as far ahead as you would think for a team that's tripled their opponent's kill count, but even if they don't have the net worth lead right now, it feels like they're pushing so consistently. They're getting Arkosh pushed back into sort of a smaller and smaller area, and now the scan just revealed that Gremlo was in the area, so Guts with the haste rune is going to look to make the play, jumping in, getting the silence down as he's got an Orchid already, and, well, Canis Vulpus is here. Actually, the whole damn team is here. It's not going to be enough. Gremlo still falls. They do get a silence, however, onto that Storm, but with the haste, he is just booking it out of the fight. He's not going to be able to make it all the way, though, as Canis Vulpus will lock him down, and now if you're Boris, when you started the Solar Guardian, it looked like a smart play. Now he's in a bit of an awkward spot. His teammates are slowly sort of trickling in, looking to defend him, but they get him with the Remnant onto Widge into the Nether Strike, so Widge, he's got to pop the Vendetta to try and get away, and actually they don't have any protection here, so they will be forced to back off, or maybe not. Now they've got the Sentry. Widge gets picked off, Empyrean dies as well. It's a double kill for Broodmother, and that goes really spectacularly well, considering they really just gave up Gremlo, but now in the jungle. Nice play. Gremlo pulls Pale Horse out after Valkyrie tries to go in with the Roar, and Guts, does he want something here? He's zipping his way forward. He is going to look for round 2 of this engagement, getting in onto Gremlo. Going to be able to blow him up, and now they want Pale Horse as well. The charge from the Spirit Breaker, however, should get him away. Actually, he didn't charge that far. He was only going onto the boar, so he's kind of still in the zone. Now Canis Vulpus is coming in to help out. They'll go with the Astral Step into the Aether Remnant, pulling Valkyrie back into the fight. He does have the Centaur here with the Stomp Up in 1, but he's not going to be able to get that off in time, I don't think, as the Dissimulate will allow Canis Vulpus to simply dodge it out. But now Guts comes back in, looking for the reinforcement. They do burn through all of his mana, though, in order to sort of get that kill, and they'll still hunt Valkyrie down. Cap snipes it out from the backline with the Stroke of Fate.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there, but that was just a really nice play from Arkosh, kind of breaking down the structure that 2-base arguably need. They need really somebody out in front. Usually it's going to be Boris going in, taking a lot of this damage, but that was really well played around that Orchid timing. I think without those 2 kills onto the Storm, you really did force Guts to play way more defensively, and really greedy from Boris to not start that Solar Guardian as soon as that Orchid went out onto him. I think then, all the way back then, maybe you get out on the Storm Spear with the haste rune, and then that fight looks a whole lot worse for you, but that's also where you don't need a lot of farm on these supports on the 2-base side, but as of right now, they are huge targets for both Monkeys Forever and Canis Vulpus, and unless you have Valkyrie set up, he does not want to get dragged towards that mid lane. If they can keep playing the split push game, once you're set up on Beastmaster, it's not like you can TP to a lane and suddenly bring your entire menagerie. It's a really slow rotating hero, so if you can't create this pressure of your own in the side lanes, then Arkosh could very realistically out-rotate you.
Bonus points for getting a Menagerie in there as well, ET. Well played. But, yeah, point stands, and now if you're Arkosh, they're just going to keep... Okay, they're going to keep going. They catch out the Nyx. That's twice now that Widge has unfortunately just been spotted by the Sentry, and now Pale Horse charging his way in. Looking for Boris. Charge into the Nether Strike, into the hook. The Dismember was already used, though, onto Widge, so they don't have that lockdown. And Boris... I still don't think he's getting out of here. He doesn't have time for the Solar Guardian, and he had already used all of his movement abilities, so they'll bring him down, and now Pale Horse, he's going to charge his way mid. He needs backup, though. Gremlo's here. TP coming in from Cap as well, so they have a shot at this. The hook obviously had a lot to get through, but they still go through with the charge. Guts, however, is here. Empyrean's in position as well, so, well, if they knew about the other heroes, I don't think that charge completes. They thought it was just Valkyrie pushing out the lane by himself, and fortunately for Pale Horse, that was not the case, and his supports weren't quite far enough up to protect him once that engagement started.
Yeah, it's a real nice bait, to be honest, by 2-based. Of course, they're giving up all of this damage on the top tower because they're making that play, but they get it. They get who they want. Also really greedy, but Guts always looking forward, and he got the illusion rune.
Monkeys is going to get taken down. They get the Roar down now into Canis Vulpus as well, pushing in onto him with the Starbreaker, and that is exactly the response that they wanted. They go mid, they sort of avoid what was looking like a potential trap set against them, find the kill onto Pale Horse, immediately rotate top for 2 more, and, well, when Arkosh initiate, it's not going well for them. When Arkosh sit back, they get initiated on, and it still doesn't really go well for them. This is exactly what you want if you're 2-based. Constant pressure, and you make the playmakers on that Arkosh side feel like they actually can't make any plays, as Widge is going to jump in. Vendetta into Impale. Guts zips his way forward, and Cap is going to get taken down. Pale Horse is charging. Like the last time, though, I'm not sure this is one you really want to complete. He is going all the way in, so he will connect onto Guts. But Boris, he's coming up from the south. Gremlo's actually just going to try for the hook. It actually does pull Boris away, but now the fight is a little bit too split. Empyrean comes in, drops down the Static Storm on to that Spirit Breaker, but they were at least able to take Boris down. Reinforcements arrived on that Arkosh side, so... well, I think you're okay with that trade-off. Pale Horse at this point, I mean, he's technically the carry, but considering his net worth, if you can trade him out for that kill into Boris, you're just going to have to take that.
Yeah, they just need to be careful. Don't give TOOBASED another opportunity where Boris can just Solar Guardian on a Roar, on a Nyx Assassin, and then find another kill, because he keeps on getting those opportunities given to them, and that's why, even though he's been dying pretty consistently now, it still feels like he's not really stopped ever in his farming pattern. He's working towards that Radiance as well, something that we see every Dawnbreaker go for. But really, I think that is the breaking point for Arkosh. If TOOBASED can get their big items and their BKBs, this game looks really hard for them. I think they need to keep doing what they're doing, get their Ward Sentry combos up, looking for the Nyx Assassin. Cap's done, honestly, a really phenomenal job of just having the sight to look for those Hawks, to look for the Nyx Assassin in the trees, because we've seen time and time again, they've got good silences. Every single time they find Widge before the fight has actually started, they just pick them off for relatively free, and they've got Grimstroke Void Spirit, so they've got really good initiation. Not just that, they've got the Axe coming out as well. Oh, this is a bad time to lose monkeys.
The hook! Not gonna matter. They still get the kill with the Roar. Gremlo now locked down, and it's a double kill for Valky, but if you're Gremlo, I mean, you've got to try for that one, right? And if he gets that hook off maybe a second or two earlier, then the Broodmother potentially doesn't take that full damage. But either way, 2 kills to TOOBASED, and this is going to be a pretty easy Roche. They've just got so much armor reduction, so much damage, and so much lockdown that they're kind of just going to burn through it, well, a little bit here. Hold on.
Monkey's, he's looking for the Roche kill, or the deny.
Well,
Okay.
didn't quite get
Not a
either,
steal.
but... well, you got the spiders, you have to make an attempt for it, right? But as it stands, TOOBASED get the credit for the Roche kill. They get the Aegis into the hands of Guts, who already has been sort of given the green light to just sort of jump into these engagements. And now, if it doesn't go well for him and he gets caught out, he's got 2 lives to play with, and he's working towards a BKB. So this Storm is just going to be too much, really, for anyone on Arkosh to handle.
And I think now, though, the opportunity is presenting itself on Arkosh. They're playing towards this double BKB timing. I think they're smoking now just to throw out a play. Unfortunately, it is under a Hawk, so it's not like TOOBASED aren't going to know about it. They're going to look for Valkyrie top, which is a really nice kill. He's completely isolated. I think they've got it for free. But there is going to be an opportunity in this game where the Dawnbreaker does not have BKB. Radiance, as good an item as it is, does not give you any stats. It makes you not really that much tankier. Of course, the blind is there, but when these BKBs come out, Boris is going to become a huge target for TOOBASED to play on. If they can find it, it's going to be huge, but that's a really nice remnant.
Haste Rune, though, for the Storm is going to allow him to fall back. Pale Horse... ooh. He just charged into the Static Storm, actually, so he's not really able to fully complete this. Once it wears off, though, he does continue the charge in onto Empyrean. Canis Vulpus with the Astral Step will pick up the kill. Now they're looking for a little bit more, because TOOBASED are a little broken up right now. Guts is going to try to get away, try to preserve that Aegis for as long as he can. But, well, TOOBASED starting to maybe lose a little bit of cohesion here, and ET, as you said, sort of pre-BKB timings on some of these core heroes, you are starting to see Arkosh taking advantage of that opportunity. They still have a little ways to go, but you like to see the fact that they're playing so aggressively at this stage.
Yeah, they need to, no, we're really kidding here, they have to run at their opponents. They have to play a little bit faster, and I think, okay, I heard the eat, and I thought it was going to be a kill into Guts, but Guts is just farming Ancients on Storm Spirit. Very based, but that's the other thing they can almost count on, is whenever these team fights are breaking out, Guts is really relaxed with his mana usage. He will use everything in the tank and then stick around in a fight till afterwards, and if you can ignore the Storm Spirit, that is perfect for you. I think killing off the supports, if they were able to get the Nyx Assassin as well in their triangle, that would have been perfect, but there is no defensive measure here aside from the Solar Guardian, so if they start these fights as they have been in really the past 2 or 3 minutes, they can honestly convincingly win these team fights still. The only problem is if they don't find these plays because their opponents stop presenting them to you, then I think TOOBASED might just be able to win by farming, because once BKBs are up, then there's nothing that Arkosh can do. It just feels like they're going to fall by the wayside, and Boris is already one component to his. So if they don't find the play in a few minutes here, then I think suddenly the fight becomes substantially more difficult for you.
Good news is that Boris has his BKB up and
Ooh,
running,
nice charge.
so they're just going to go straight in onto Widge. Those sentries just doing so much work. Gremlo, that's a bit of a problem. He hooks his teammate instead of Widge. They're still going in for the kill, but there's going to be the Static Storm into the Solar Guardian. Boris is into the fight. They're going to look to turn this one around right away. So Starbreaker's going to knock up two. Gremlo taking down first. Guts, though, he is dropping. They get through that first life, but they're going to need more. Pale Horse, he tried to get in onto Widge there on the back line, but he has such little HP, he can't get away. The Glimpse is going to pull him back into it. But Guts is very nearly taken down a second time. He does have to step back. No, he doesn't. He's a man. He's going to just go straight in. Guts doesn't give a damn. They take down Canis Vulpus, and now Cap, he's pretty much left alone. They'll finish him off as well. Monkeys gets away, and ET, it's one thing for us to talk about it, but then to just see it. Guts had absolutely no right going back into that fight, and he just does it anyway, and it pays off.
Widge doesn't even die. It would have been such a clean engagement if he hit the Remnant. Canis Vulpus just dropped the ball for a second there. Widge gets to survive for so long. You use your entire BKB on the Spirit Breaker trying to take him out to just walk into Valkyrie, who just simply roars you. And with their damage as split up as it was, because they tried to get that burst onto the Nyx, they just had nothing left in the tank. They could have killed this Storm a second time, but they'd already used so many spells to try and get that initial kill. And now the game feels incredibly hard. You have to be so careful going forward. We might see a desperation smoke in a few seconds here, because the game is not out of their field just yet, because these items, you know, aren't necessarily in the hands of TOOBASED, even though they're definitely going to be there in just a few seconds. But now that there's a BKB on Guts, there really isn't a great way to kill him. You don't have stuns. You need to get some crazy chain disable going.
Oh,
and
no.
Pale Horse, he's got BKB, but is he really going to just BKB TP? It's Solar Guardian 5.
He's going to get pulled back in, but there's that BKB. He actually doesn't need the TP home. He's just going to walk away as, well, honestly, on the other side, that's probably a good call, right? Once you see that BKB, there really is nothing else for this duo in particular to do. So maybe you could have kept going and you force out a TP, but that's not really worth the risk just in case there were Arkosh heroes nearby.
He's going to show bottom, and then his Guts going to immediately TP? Okay. Knowing Guts, he looks for crazy things like that, but instead he's looking for plays, I think, over where the Hawk was sent out. But again, that's Cap with the sentries. They know where a lot of these Hawks are, even though Valkyrie's been able to sneak a few in. But the problem is, this is not the Arkosh you want to see. Arkosh being afraid and sitting in their triangle is not the Arkosh that's going to win this game, especially once Boris actually finishes his BKB here, which is only 200 gold away. This is going to become a very difficult game very soon here.
And once that BKB is up, he's just going to charge into the fights, and the ability for Arkosh to keep him contained is just about gone until the BKB wears off. But you take a look at Monkeys. He's building his way towards the Aghanim Scepter here, so, well, I could allow them to maybe establish a little bit more control of the fights as Canis Vulpus is being tracked, yeah. But Widge needs, well, he needs somebody else. Boris is going to come in with the Solar Guardian. There's the Sim from Guts. Oh, man. Those reinforcements just get there so fast. Pale Horse, meanwhile, decides that's his cue to leave. Good attempt there with that Conquer. If it's just maybe a step closer, they could have connected with that stun, but Pale Horse is able to get away. But now, without Canis Vulpus, your damage is just too low to really take a fight. They've got to sit there and wait for his respawn naturally.
Yeah, and then Boris is just running at Cap in the bottom lane. Okay. It hurts.
And this actually complete in time?
He might actually TP out. Yeah, he's good.
Oh, Cap's a gamer. He's able to get himself out of there. So, well, in the long run, if he died, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. It would not have been backbreaking for Arkosh, but considering they're already down one hero, they'd like to preserve their numbers as best as possible, although Gremlo didn't get that memo. He goes for the hook onto the Centaur, and I mean, it is the insta-kill, so you at least get some gold, and I don't think he's getting out of that tree line alive either way, so you may as well go for something, but now the lineup's a little staggered for Arkosh. 30 seconds before the Pudge is back in, and he doesn't have his buyback available.
Yeah, but more importantly, Monkeys Forever is only 400 gold away from his Aghanim Scepter, and then he can start putting snares around the map.
I think I felt the sarcasm on that one. But actually, I mean, you know, is it going to be game-changing? No. Is it going to be useful? Probably, but useful may not be
They are getting
enough.
racked. They are getting racked, but They
Are they
need the
gonna
Pudge to start
do...
the fight. No, they can't go first onto Boris because he's just going to BKB off their initiation. They don't have enough Disable in the actual Remnant. His guess just going to kill with the DD. Okay, they're giving respect to their opponents. You know, you gotta give them some respect for that on the Arkosh side. But that's also where, coming forward, you gotta be so careful. They love to start the fight onto Valkyrie. If they can get it with their magic first, but
Good
okay.
jump, Gremlo. Quick to get him
Now they
out,
don't
and...
think well. Ooh.
Well, they wanted to wait for Gremlo to get back in. They lose him immediately. Canis Vulpus now tries to make a play, but he's going to get glimpsed back in. The Roar will be deployed. The Static Storm is down. Boris is coming in with the Solar Guardian, and Canis Vulpus will be finished off here. Guts now zips forward. BKB active, looking for the quick kill onto Cap. They'll get him as well. And the rest of the lineup's just going to get run back towards the fountain. Pale Horse has to retreat. Monkeys, though, trying to fight up inside of that kinetic field. They're doing a decent job of it, but they just don't have the damage to fully break through, especially with Guts getting involved once again. He'll find that kill onto Pale Horse, who bought back and then was glimpsed forward. That looked weird, but Pale Horse is back into the fight, but he doesn't have that ult. The Nether Strike was already used, so that's a little bit of your lockdown and damage being taken away. They're still looking for the charge onto Guts, though. They do make the connection. The Inkswell was on him, but he actually backed away once he saw really the entirety of TOOBASED was still here.
On Widge.
Oh, they got it. Hook is in. Okay. Quick kill onto
snare.
Widge.
The spinner snare. He was rooted. He was helpless. There was nothing he can do.
Arkosh loses the full lane of racks, but at least they get something on the back end that's going to keep them... It's going to keep them alive. I don't know if they're in a good spot, kind of on life support, as it were, but not dead yet. And at the end of the day, one lane of racks is bad, but that was the maximum extent that that damage could have been, right? There's still tier 2s up in the other lanes, so TOOBASED very much putting a stranglehold on this match, but that could not have really possibly been the death blow, unless Arkosh just lost everyone.
No, definitely not. Unfortunately, Boris does have now a Titan Sliver as well as a Basher, so he's getting even scarier on this Dawnbreaker, but that's also where you are not the best at sieging these buildings. I mean, Boris had to fade away from that building and had to actually let Guts be the one to finish it off, so they are a little bit scared whenever these pushes do break through. Unfortunately, I think Valkyrie has a full AC coming out on the Courier, so that push did just get a lot easier, but we also haven't seen TOOBASED make an attempt over by the pit. I think large in part because Arkosh want the fight near the pit. If they can get their opponents outside of their base, there is that breakdown in structure that we talked about good 10 minutes ago, where if they can find Empyrean and Widge before the fight actually breaks out, then they are very vulnerable, easy to kill targets. But that was just so good from Empyrean in that fight before. He's got an Aether Lens, so it does make it a little bit easier. He's definitely got more farm than I think a normal Disruptor should have, but that kinetic field is just back-breaking versus the Spirit Breaker. Unless you immediately BKB, you're just sitting there, charging, doing nothing.
And it is actually funny, because, I mean, to a certain extent, you are right. It does feel like Empyrean has more farm than you would normally have on this Disruptor, and he's still the lowest net worth hero in the game, so he has more than you would expect him to have, and everyone else has even more. It's just kind of the nature of this game, and if you're TOOBASED, you've got 33 kills in 30 minutes, so to a certain extent, it makes sense that everybody's net worth gets a little bit accelerated when you're finding kills at that rate. As Pale Horse look for the charge, they get Widge with the hook, they'll pull him back. Nether Strike now coming out onto Guts, but they don't have enough lockdown to really secure that kill, and as a matter of fact, they didn't actually kill Widge either. They haven't gotten anything just yet, and now the Roar deployed onto Canis Vulpus. Eventually, Pale Horse runs down Empyrean, but that's not going to be worth it. They've lost their mid laner, there's no buyback on that Void, so not really sure how much further they can go. It looks like now they'll finally sort of turn their attention back to Widge. Gremlo have basically been playing a 1v1 against him for quite a while, but Widge is actually trying to make a break for it.
And he's out. Oh, the hook! Oh,
Okay.
it's too wide. That, oh, almost. It's almost. And you actually saw there, they do have the snares down in the trunk. That's what it caught Widge off guard. He just accidentally walked into it, but they weren't able to capitalize. And
long zip from Guts while his teammates go for Roche, and they managed to get both. And were they... Yeah, they're just holding the Aegis for Guts to pick up. So, able to zip back in. He'll get that second life up and running. And now...
Widge. Borrowed time.
Gonna get himself taken down. Gremlo now trying to retreat as well. He is so damn slow, and here comes Guts zipping in. Gremlo taken out. Neither of those two supports have their buybacks available, but they are trying to turn. They've got a silence onto the storm. They'll take out his first life. Big play there, but you're gonna need to be able to do it again, and that's gonna sort of put a wrench in that plan. Valkyrie just comes in with the Roar, locks down Canis Vulpus. And they want even more. Monkeys is forced to pop the BKB, turning around with the Insatiable Hunger, looking for the damage, throwing down really everything he's got, but it just doesn't feel like enough. Guts continues to
Ooh.
charge forward, and Monkeys will be taken down. Monkeys, yeah, okay, has a buyback, so he is going to get back in there, but it's just him and Pale Horse at this point to try and hold the high ground.
I
It's two
think,
base.
honestly, they let it go. Just wait for your Void Spirit to respawn. If they get dove here, then the game just ends, especially before the Punch respawns. Does he have Shard? He does have Shard, so at least the Punch can get someone out of dodge, but this is still just a very unfortunate circumstance. Canis Vulpes just died to Roar, respawned, TP'd in, died to Roar a second time. He just isn't really finding his
Oh,
game
Pale
anymore, and
Horse.
he's got BKB, but yeah, be careful about the glimpse, but okay. He hadn't left the base all too far, so Empyrean wasn't able to find the punish, but the game is continuously looking more and more difficult. They got to find something with the Inkswell on the Canis Vulpes going forward here. If they can chain together some of these kills, they can definitely look for someone like Valkyrie without
He's too
BKB.
far away from
Yeah,
help.
there you go.
Widge is going to give it a
Widge.
go. But Gremlin, yeah, there's the Dismember. Horus, though, is coming in, and so too is Guts. Valky, he's not dead. They actually keep him alive. Oh, no, that's just terrible. Pale Horse, okay, he does get the kill there. Now Canis Vulpes is in as well, but at this point, they've just lost too many heroes. Half the lineup is dead, and all they really got was a Valky kill that they were supposed to have gotten about 5 to 10 seconds ago. They'll lose a fourth, as Guts, at this point, he's just wild. He's going in for every single kill he can get, and that's it.
Oh,
Yeah,
they call
Arkosh
it.
have had enough. The GG called, as they will lose Canis Vulpes one last time, and, well, the clowny draft, really, I'm just going to say it, because that's the best way to describe it at this point, does not work out for Arkosh. Two-base handle business, and they get a much-needed victory to kick off this two-game series.
Yeah, it's the same two base we saw in that first game last night against Black and Yellow, where it felt like they honestly kind of shot called themselves to victory. But also, you gave Guts Storm Spirit. He's really good at Storm Spirit, even though he should have been under, I think, a little bit more pressure, especially when he went for the later on BKB. He also didn't have his Orchid nearly as fast as he does in a lot of his other games, where I think Canis Vulpes going for the Ags Rush, it's definitely risky because, you know, you're going to have your Ags a lot slower than he has his Orchid, but it felt like there's this timing 19 minutes into the game where suddenly Arkosh are stronger than their opponents, and unfortunately they just didn't find as many opportunities as they needed to get that snowball going. We saw a little bit of the Broodmother split push. Monkeys was definitely getting damage on those tier 2 towers, but unfortunately he wasn't really ever to claim them once those team fights actually broke out. And of course, you have a safe lane Spirit Breaker in this game, you're not really playing towards that late game scenario. You don't have those outs that maybe if you had a Terrorblade, you could look for, where it's just one team fight and suddenly you win, but unfortunately, that's not the case here. And yet again, I don't think Canis Vulpes has a good enough game to actually just 1v9 straight up, especially when Guts is just constantly making plays and finding picks across the map and not getting punished for it. I mean, the man had 2 deaths on Storm Spear in the game where they had Orchids so quickly on everyone on Arkosh's side. It's just an unfortunate circumstance. Maybe if they had a little bit more aggressive vision in the lanes, it felt like Pale Horse never really found those charges onto heroes to then set up kills. It was constantly on the other side, Widge finding people out, and then the combo into Solar Guardian, and then just kill after kill after kill.
Yeah, and you take a look at that two-base lineup. Outside of the sort of Boris Guts duo, you see the offlaner and the 2 supports, everybody with at least 22 assists. So it was a situation, as you said, Widge could just find kills, Valky could shut things down with the Roar, Empyrean with the Static Storm. So often they say, if you're on the Arkosh side and you want to charge at us, okay, fine, because the second you do, we've got all the traps in the world to sort of deploy against you. So two-based, I mean, this is probably, I think, the best performance we've seen from them to this point in the tournament. They just looked so exceptionally confident in their own game plan and do walk away with the win. So we said it was a win that they very desperately needed. They guarantee themselves at least 1 point here. That is the really minimum that they needed to try and avoid that danger zone. Now, though, with this first victory in the books, they have a chance to really put the pressure on Arkosh. If they can pull off a 2-0 sweep here, then they would not just move themselves above Arkosh, but also above Black and Yellow, and create that little bit of separation to maybe spare themselves the elimination factor in the last couple of days. So we'll see if they can do it again. We'll see if Arkosh ban out Guts' Storm Spirit. That kind of seems like a pretty obvious first move to make, but Game 2 will be coming our way in just a couple of minutes here. So we'll be stepping aside for a bit, back for that second match.